there is no difference between uniform civil code and the common civil code. This is a constitutional goal. It is going to give equal right to all the women and children irrespective of their religion. It is very unfortunate that it has taken almost 75 years. Some people are saying that this is a direct attack upon the diversity of the country. Marriage, nikah and vivah, they will remain the same. I have seen many cases. The kind of discrimination the women and children are going to face, we don't have any realization. If everybody is a citizen of this country, then why the women and children should suffer? We should never forget that the starting line of the Indian Constitution is we the people of India. The basic purpose of this uniform civil code to bring in uniformity. This implements the spirit of the Constitution in the correct sense. Saying that this is an interference in their religious freedom, that is absolutely wrong. It is not against any religion. Definitely it's a very welcoming step.
Hello and welcome, you're watching Ritam. Common Civil Code Bill has been tabled by CM Pushkar Singh Dhami at Uttarakhand Assembly. As soon as the bill was tabled, there had been intense debate going on. To shed light on the matter and to take questions like how to implement the bill successfully, what will be the roadmap ahead, the upcoming challenges, we have a special guest who's going to address all the questions, all the concerns. Professor Seema Singh, who's a law professor at University of Delhi. Ma'am, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Although the bill is being tabled and it includes fantastic things which should have been addressed and should have been included much earlier because those provisions were already there in the Constitution. So now going ahead, how do you think these concerns will be addressed and how the implementation will be and how successfully you think these implementation can take place as Uttarakhand also becomes the first state to implement the bill?
Actually, UCC is something which is directly connected with the spirit and the soul of the Indian Constitution.
Sure.
And I'm just going to explain because there are so many misconceptions about Uniform Civil Code. So first of all, we should try to understand that for a citizen of this country, how much important this Uniform Civil Code is. Because one segment is also saying that this is a direct encroachment in their right to freedom of religion also. So first of all, I think we should try to understand that what the spirit of the Constitution talks about. On 15th August 1947, when India got divided on the line of the religion, after that we adopted this Constitution. On 26th January 1950, it was implemented. We should never forget that the starting line of the Indian Constitution is we the people of India.
Correct.
So the preamble of the Indian Constitution, this is a dream, this is an objective of the entire Constitution. And when the starting line is we the people of India, so we should never forget that this is the collective responsibility of each and every citizen of this country irrespective of their religious faith. And the next important thing which we should try to understand very clearly, the first line after the first word, after the we the people of India is sovereignty, then equality, liberty, and the last term justice, and the last term is fraternity. Now, liberty also includes the liberty of freedom or the religious practices, but simultaneously the most important goal of the preamble is the equality.
Correct.
And when we read Part 3 of the Indian Constitution, the first fundamental right is also equality. So the basic purpose of this Uniform Civil Code to bring in uniformity, uniformity across all the communities, irrespective of their religion, in the matters which are dealing with their marriage, divorce, maintenance, succession and adoption. The problem is, as of now, India is the only country in the world which has around 54 provisions and legislations exclusively to protect the rights of the women. But unfortunately, because of these different personal laws, a major portion of certain minority communities, they are not able to avail the protection of this rights which are given to them under the Constitution and also under the various statutes. So the basic purpose of this Uniform Civil Code is to remove all those discrimination. All those discrimination, not only among the women belonging to different religion, but also to the children belonging to different religious communities. So this is a constitutional goal. And another, one aspect which we all should notice is in the preamble, another goal which is important, that is the fraternity. And like any other part of the preamble, fraternity as per me is the most fundamental part of the Indian constitution. And that's why Dr. Ambedkar says that if you are going to give any interpretation to the equality or liberty which is violating the concept of sovereignty and fraternity, that should not be considered as a correct interpretation. So to implement the spirit of the fraternity, the religious identities should not be promoted.
Now going ahead, you think there will be potential challenges?
The Supreme Court is constantly repeating for the implementation of UCC, a particular segment is continuously demanding that they cannot come under the purview of the UCC. Some people are saying that this is a direct attack upon the diversity of the country. Diversity is altogether a very different thing. Diversity doesn't mean discrimination. And this is the reason that as a goal, it was kept by the same Constituent Assembly under Article 44 of the Indian Constitution, that whenever right time comes, the government should implement Uniform Civil Code. It is very unfortunate that it has taken almost 75 years.
Yes.
And one thing which also needed to be discussed today here, that in the Constituent Assembly debate also this Uniform Civil Code was discussed.
Okay.
And there were many like Dr. Ambedkar, K.M. Munshi, Alladi Krishna Iyer, there were many members who were supporting the idea of Uniform Civil Code. But at that point of time, because India was facing the crisis of the division of the country, and lakhs of the people were migrating from one country to another country, and also there was a lots of persecution of the minority communities. So that was not the right time to implement it. So just to give a feeling of security to the minority, it was decided that at this point of time we are not going to implement it. But it was kept as a goal under the directive principle of state policy, and the purpose was same. You will have to implement it whenever the right time comes. So now I think, because after so many judicial pronouncements, now this is a right time to implement UCC, and then only the spirit of the constitution is going to be implemented.
Which is why it is a fantastic move by Pushkar Singh Dhami to start with that particular section that you are talking about.
One thing which is constantly projected, that it is a direct attack upon the customary laws of the different religions. The first thing, it is not going to affect the customary law of any religion. And just to implement the divide and rule policy in 1937, when the Shariat Act was implemented, that was you can say a result of the connivance between the British government and the Muslim League. After the implementation of Shariat Act, the Britishers made it very much clear that now the Islamic laws cannot be interfered by any government. So this started creating a kind of immunity in the minds of certain people, that our law can never be interfered. So I think now people, the women especially, they are very much ready to accept this kind of change. And this change is also very much important, because one of the largest community, which is so-called a minority community, half of their population cannot be leave behind,
of course,
and if they are not the part of the mainstream.
Of course.
And this is then basically we are going to discriminate against them.
Exactly, because constitution is applicable, constitution or the laws, everything, all the provisions, everything is applicable on one and all, irrespective of the religion or caste. Ma'am, you just mentioned about women empowerment and how you highlighted one of the cases also. The women had to run from pillar to post for her rights. So the CCC bill, once proposed and once implemented, of course it's going to bring in those kind of benefits, and it's going to provide basic rights to the women who were deprived of their basic needs, I guess. So which is why also one of the reasons that women have readily accepted the move.
This is going to give equal right of divorce, maintenance, because these things are very serious issues, adoption and succession and inheritance. So this equality should be given irrespective of the religion to each and every woman. Till now there are lots of problems, like we take the example of adoption. In the case of Hindu law, if a child is being adopted, he becomes the natural child of the same family. So he inherits all sorts of rights as the biological child. But in the case of rest of the religion, if they can, a couple can only be a guardian of a child, But the child cannot inherit all sorts of rights from their parents. So it means even absolute adoption or absolute integration of a child in a particular family, it is allowed only in the Hindu community and not in the rest of the religious community. Similarly, in the case of divorce, in Hindu law, the Hindu woman is more powerful, or you can say that at least they are at par with their male counterpart. Yes. But in the case of Christian law and the Parsi law and the Jewish law also, they are almost at par. But the biggest problem is in the Islamic law, and we have seen that women has fought a long battle just to get this
Court
kind of
yes.
and like instant triple talaq, and there are several other means of divorce also which are available to the male but not to the female. If everybody is a citizen of this country, then why the women and children should suffer?
Given the fact that it should have been implemented much earlier, you think there will be potential challenges?
In certain parts of the country, like in Kerala and Hyderabad, there is a concept of traveller marriages, and in traveller marriage somebody comes from outside and he get married with a girl, and once he is leaving the country he will give divorce. Right. And the second important thing is, in the case of because due to the lack of the uniformity of law, Child Marriage Prohibition Act, POSH Act, 375 exception, means 375 of IPC. There is a clause which says that even if you are married to a girl who is minor, if you are going to make any kind of sexual intercourse with that amounts to rape. But in the case of especially among because the biggest problem, why I am constantly repeating or mentioning the name of a particular community, because there the problems are more serious. Like in that particular community, the age of majority is age of puberty for the boy as well as for the girl. So that age of puberty can be 14 year, 12 year or 13 year for the boy as well as for the girl. The second important thing is, under the normal IPC, if there is a girl of any other community and she is below 15 years of age and there is a marriage also, it's a criminal offense. But it is not going to be applicable on a women belonging to a particular community. So you are going to deprive them a lot. And the most important thing is, it is the collective responsibility of the entire nation and community to give protection at least to your children. So who is the biggest deprived community? The women and children. So actually mentioning this thing that this is against any particular community or you are going to target any no, it is not like that. The purpose and the meaning of Uniform Civil Code is just to remove the discrimination prevailing for women and children among different communities and to give equal protection to all. So this is very simple. It is not going to attack in any ways your customary laws also, not at all. Lots of discussion also that why is Uniform Civil Code, why not Common Civil Code? There is no difference between Uniform Civil Code and the Common Civil Code. The only reason why people mention Uniform Civil Code, because the constitution maker, under the original constitution of Article 44, they used the term Uniform Civil Code. So you are bound to use that unless and until you are going to amend Article 44. So ideally there is no difference between Uniform Civil Code and the Common Civil Code. And uniformity doesn't mean that uniform customary laws. No, it is not like that. Uniform means equal protection of rights.
Basically implies one law for all.
Yes.
Correct.
Because there is also a question that whether it amounts to an interference in the religious freedom or not. In many Islamic countries, you take the example of Pakistan, you take the example of Bangladesh, you take the example of Syria, you take the example of Iraq. In all these countries, their personal laws are codified and they all are Islamic countries. So once you are going to say that the personal laws cannot be codified, this is wrong. And in all these countries, there is registration of marriage, there is fixed minimum age of marriage, which is in most of the countries 18 years. And the instant triple talaq is banned in almost all the countries, and the grounds of maintenance are also being prescribed.
Ma'am, you mentioned about other countries where this practice already prevails. So if we compare the situation, if we compare the terms of in terms of implementation also, are they facing any kind of irregularities which we might also see in the coming days, or you think that's going smooth in the other countries?
If there is law, if there is any law, you cannot say that the law can be implemented with 100%. accuracy, because if the law is there, then the lawbreakers are also there.
Yes.
But the important thing is, if there is a violation of somebody's right, at least there should be some scope to claim any remedy.
Exactly.
Till now we are not able to provide that space. At least now we have given them this right, that if it happens to you, you can approach to the court for the protection of your right.
Correct.
So this is very much important, because unless and until we gave them any statutory right to claim their protection, how they will claim it? So at least we have provided them a safety. So if
Yes.
somebody is going to violate their right to life or liberty or dignity,
raise their voice against it,
yes,
and they can speak for their rights. True.
this thing, because once you are going to say that this is an interference in your religious freedom, you should keep this thing in your mind, that this is not the essential part of your religion. If this is the essential part of your religion, how it can be banned in pure Islamic countries?
Yeah.
India is a secular country. It means it is, because Islam has 5 essential parts, and that is Roza, Namaz, Hajj, Zakat, and there is one more. So those 5 elements are not going to be interfered.
There is a section which is already in debate over the topic, and they are claiming that it's the BJP government, their bill which they necessarily wanted to impose over people. So I think this gives them much more clarity that it has nothing to do with that, and BJP government has done something which earlier government was not able to do timely. I just want you to shed a little bit more light on freedom of religion violation that we were having this discussion earlier. Does it or does it
No,
not?
it does not. It does not. I am going to give you an example. Article 25 clearly says that there are 2 parts of religion. The first one is the basic, or the fundamental, and the second one is the periphery. Periphery means there may be any kind of religious practices also. So the religious practices which are not in consonance with the constitution, they can be regulated, and they should be considered as non-essential religious practices. You remember, in Hindus there was a custom of Sati Pratha.
Yes.
Devdasi Pratha,
Yes.
they all were banned. And in fact, when the Hindu law was firstly codified, there were also some resentment earlier, but subsequently everybody accepted it. So what was the purpose of that Hindu codified bill? To eliminate also, if like by polygamy, they should be banned, they should be prohibited, right?
Yes.
So in any religion, the non-essential practice, if that is going to be corrected in accordance with the spirit of the constitution, then it is perfectly constitutional. Like triple talaq, this is not the essential religious practice. What is the essential religious practice which I told you earlier? Roza, Namaz, Hajj, Zakat, these are the essential religious practices. So they are not going to be interfered in any ways by the government. And the second important thing, once in the Islamic countries, these things have been regulated, you cannot claim it as the essential part of your religion. So if it is not the essential part of your religion, how you are going to say that it is going to hurt your religious freedom? So the progressive interpretation can be given to any terminology. So saying this thing that the Islamic law is non-progressive, it is absolutely wrong. It says that according to the time it can be changed and it should be changed. And very recently we have seen that how in Saudi Arabia there is a lots of change which has been introduced by the government of Saudi Arabia, the king of Saudi Arabia. Specifically I am talking about the rights which they are going to give to their women. So saying this thing that the Islamic law
They are much
cannot
more
be
progressive
changed,
than-
yeah, it is a progressive law, and don't say that this is not progressive.
Of course.
Article 25 of the Indian Constitution gives religious freedom to each and every citizen, but that religious freedom is not absolute. That is one thing.
Yeah.
The second important thing is, what do we mean by the religious freedom? Religion means how I am going to connect myself with my supreme divine, but how I am going to behave with you, this is going to be regulated by the law.
By the
You
law.
can maybe my relative,
Yes.
there may be a relationship of a husband and wife, there may be a relationship of a parents and child. So these types of relationships, they do not come under the purview of your religious freedom. And that's why Article 25 of the Indian Constitution very clearly says that right to freedom of religion is subject to public order, health, morality, and other part of Part 3 of the Indian Constitution, which also includes Article 14, which talks about equality, and Article 15, which talks about which also includes 15.3, which talks about special protection for women and children. So saying this thing that this is an interference in religious freedom, it is absolutely wrong, because if it is the essential part of Islam, how it can be codified in the Islamic country? So remember, those people who are involved in such kind of rumor mongering, I am going to make it very clear, it is not at all going to interfere in any ways in your religious freedom. I don't think that it may be more political, but in the reality, what I feel that most of the people are definitely going to accept it, and for women and children, definitely it is a matter of great celebration. And every individual who is even little bit sensitive about the respect and dignity of women and children, they are also going to accept this common civil code with great zeal.
True, ma'am. Proceeding further, speaking of a nation one law, there have been the mentions of marriage, divorce, which we've already covered, inheritance, adoption and maintenance. Can you just shed little light on these 5 things which is being included there?
As of now, there are 4 main laws: Hindu law, Christian law, Parsi law and Jewish law. Muslim law is not codified. In the case of marriage, all those religions are practicing their own religious practices, like Saptapadi among the Hindus, and Nikah in Islam, marriage in Christianity, and one more thing, Sikh, Buddhist and Jain, they are covered under the Hindu law. Right? Now, marriage mein to there is no issue, because they will practice according to their own meher and whatever procedure is prescribed. But yes, divorce I have already discussed, there is a lots of problem. The women belonging to other religious community, in the codified law they have more rights, but in uncodified law, which is presently only the Islamic law, very limited rights are available to the women. In fact, there is a very dangerous practice which is followed in Islam, that is halala. And halala has also been challenged before the Supreme Court, because that is a very gruesome practice. It's absolutely hurt the dignity of a particular woman, because once she has been divorced by her husband, she will have to get married to another person. The marriage should be properly consummated, and after the consummation, the second husband will give divorce to his wife, and only after that she will be allowed to marry with her first husband. So there is a lots of resentment among the Muslim women, because when we were discussing about all these things, I had discussion with many Muslim organizations also, and they said that now the Muslim women want to control and eliminate all these types of discrimination.
Of course. They've been raising their voices against this for so long.
And they are constantly under threat. That's why this instant triple talaq ban, that has given a lots of respite to the Muslim women, and that has provided them a kind of confidence that if their right is going to be violated, at least some remedy is available. I remember 4 to 5 years back, at night I received a call, and that was of a Muslim girl, and she was saying that her husband has thrown her out from her matrimonial home. Now what she should do? He is saying that I'll give you talaq. And another case I received where a Muslim lady has called me, and she said that I am a childless person, I want to adopt a child. How can I adopt a child? Muslim law doesn't allow her to adopt a child. So these were the plights. So at least these plights are going to be removed. So, and once you talk about the succession and the inheritance, inheritance is a very important issue, and when you talk about this is very technical also, so not going into technicality, but once you compare the right of the inherited right of a Muslim woman in comparison to rest of the community, rest of the community does not receive same kind of right as the Hindu woman is availing. So legally you can say that the Hindu woman presently is much more legally empowered. She is much more secure in comparison to any woman belonging to any other community. So the purpose of this uniform civil code is to give equal protection to. You can take the example of maintenance also.
Yes.
CRP, this is very important issue. After the divorce, what was the issue of Shah Bano? She is a old lady, and in her 70s her husband is going to give her divorce.
75 rupees or something she was
and she has 4 or 5 children. Now how she will survive? According to Islamic law, she can get maintenance only up to the period of iddat. So in that case, Shah Bano case, the Supreme Court has given a very clear judgment that she will receive the protection of section 125 of CRPC, which talks about the maintenance of a divorced woman or a maintenance of a wife. Now in this case, these women cannot claim protection under section 125 of CRPC if they are going to govern according to their personal laws. Now you just imagine, she is a victim of triple talaq. Now she is also receiving maintenance only up to the period of iddat, and iddat means 3 menstrual cycles.
Okay.
What would be her situation after 3 menstrual cycles?
Makes no sense if you go into detailing.
Yes, she cannot claim her right in the property of her husband also. So how she will survive? This is a very important question. Shah Bano case, the Supreme Court has said she should receive the protection of 125. But unfortunately, then government has introduced a law
and there was intervention.
Just to undo the effect of Shah Bano case. And in that legislation, they again restored the original position where they said that she can claim maintenance only up to the period of iddat. So again you have kept it on the same position. This is a gross violation of her fundamental right. This is directly related with her right to life, right to dignity, and right of survival also.
Exactly.
In a any welfare state, this should be the responsibility of the government to give protection,
to step in whenever it needs
exactly
to be.
And for a long time they are in an absolute insecure environment. If they are going to be kicked out from their matrimonial house, they have no remedy. And we have seen many cases where they have been kicked out. There is a cases of triple talaq. They are not receiving any kind of maintenance. You just imagine the plight of the such kind of wives and their children. Now who is going to look after them? And the important question is, in these types of circumstances, they can be victim of different kind of offences also. Not only they themselves, but also their children.
Correct.
So they may be the victim of
getting passed on uncertainty.
They may be the victim of human trafficking also.
Yes.
They may be the victim of for organ transplantation. They can be taken away by somebody. So this is they are going to be deprived life. So that's why I think by giving this,
it encompasses all the basic necessities
yes,
which
because
will make their future as well as the present more certain than they think.
At least now they have some some authority to claim their right over the property of their husband. They can get maintenance. They can get equal right of divorce also. They are not bound to bear all type of torture which earlier they were bound to face because they did not have any kind of remedy. So I think this Uniform Civil Code, this implements the spirit of the Constitution in the correct sense, and the equality, which is the first goal of the Indian Constitution. At least we can say that with equity we are trying to bring equality among the women and children belonging to different religious community. So definitely it's a very welcoming step.
Common Civil Code is nothing but a progressive report for
100%.
everyone.
100%. It is giving protection to only your women and children, not to anybody else. And I think in whatever with whatever religious community we belong, it is our responsibility to give protection to our women and children. This is our first responsibility.
Exactly.
So saying that this is an interference in their religious freedom, that is absolutely wrong, because in any ways it is not going to affect their essential religious practices. This is affecting only how a person should behave with his wife, with his children, and the right to property and rest of the thing, which is not the essential part of the religion. These are discriminatory, and please don't give this particular UCC a religious color. This is just to eliminate the discrimination against the women and children. I am repeating this again and again to make it very clear that it is not against any religion. This is just to give an protection to women and children of every religious community.
True, ma'am. I'm sure this will give them much more clarity. Ma'am, thank you so much for addressing almost all the prominent concerns and shedding light on everything, almost every aspect that we had in our mind. Thank you so much for taking out time and joining us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you.